Welcome to Box Out Banter, where you can check out our IGN Live every other Saturday night at 2 a.m. No, don't do that. We don't have that. That would be a very bad idea.
I mean, if you just want to see me playing Dragon Ball FighterZ or some other video.
This is true. We don't have fun lives like Paul Pierce.
I'm not in college anymore. I don't go to clubs or parties, especially over the last year and a half. Or over the last year anyway.
I don't think I ever lived like Paul Pierce lived. I don't think it ever happened to me.
I don't think I ever lived a quarter, like even 5% of the way Paul Pierce had.
So obviously we're joking about it, and something I want to talk about. And I know you want to talk about. So he just got let go from ESPN. ESPN is cutting all ties. Obviously, the Mouse don't play like that.
Yeah, and Paul Pierce just posted a tweet like right after the news broke. It was him. It was a video of him laughing, and then the hashtag smile next to his head as he's laughing back and forth. And apparently, he said something like "stay tuned" or something like that. That was pretty wild, huh?
Yeah. Well, the crazy part was like, all right, he has that wild. For anyone that doesn't know, Paul Pierce posted an Instagram live where he had strippers and like a lot of alcohol and friends over,
poker chips and cards. It looked like too,
all kinds of stuff. Like, they were having a night.
Shots, all of it.
And he was obviously having a good time, and he was talking to an escort to try to get her over. I don't really know what was going on there. But yeah, it was pretty wild. And so yeah, the crazy part to me was after that whole thing happened, and he posted it, and then Twitter went nuts, and Instagram went nuts, and the basketball world went nuts. He starts tweeting about the UCLA game.
Yeah, like nothing happened.
Like he just starts tweeting about the UCLA game, and you're like, bruh, what are you on?
Was that him? Yeah. Well, no. First, he tweeted. Before he tweeted, "What a shot! Oh my God, Gonzaga!" He tweeted, "Good morning."
Yeah.
And that got nearly 21,000 retweets. He's just like, "Hey man, good morning. What's on the news lately?
What's popping off?
Anything new?" And it's like, what? And then he tweeted after that, "Oh my God, what a shot, Gonzaga." Pierce tweeted again, "Earthquake," and then the next tweet, "Anyone else feel that earthquake?"
Yeah.
Here's the tweet. "Big things coming soon. Stay tuned. Make sure you smile. Hashtag truth shall set you free." And he posted a 5-second clip of him laughing after news broke.
Man, doesn't it seem like one of those just like he just doesn't know he did something wrong, and you're like,
well, think about it. Like, I mean, Paul Pierce, and especially if you hear stories about like Paul Pierce of the 08 Celtics and stuff like that, like this probably thought it was he thought this was okay. Like, think about it. Like, you think about it. I was listening to I was listening actually to the latest Bill Simmons Ryan Russillo pod last night, and they actually talked about this. And I actually thought it was interesting perspective because they both have had their suspension problems at ESPN and all that stuff. But Ryan kind of made this point. It was like, look, all of Paul Pierce's life, he has been told he is, the shit at basketball. He's made millions of dollars. He becomes a champion, and so he's had an established career. Like, he's a legitimate Hall of Famer. And so you go into the next stage of your media career, and you're basically being handed a job that honestly, like, you could be doing a lot of other things, but because you're Paul Pierce, you get paid to talk basketball. It's like, okay, I'll just go on for a few minutes, give my take, and then leave. AKA, I'm better than Dwayne Wade, or I'm a better shooter than Klay Thompson, and then he just walks off the set.
I created the step back.
Yeah, I created the step back. He just walks off the set, people react, and Paul Pierce keeps coming back on. And so he's probably just like, this job really... It's a fun thing for me. And so he does the normal stuff he would do, except, he doesn't really understand that he is repped by Disney at the end of the day.
Well,
so I don't think he necessarily did any. I don't know if he realized he was doing anything wrong, because at this point, everybody knows how to use social media and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I just think Paul Pierce, this is what Paul Pierce
care,
said.
Right?
He doesn't care.
Like, so this is the thing that I got into a discussion with someone about it, and at the end of the day, I realized I was just like talking at a wall. You know, one of those, right?
And you're just running around in circles.
Yeah, and it's the thing where it's a thing like Paul Pierce. Yes, he is able to do all this stuff in his private life and do whatever he wants. I'm not saying that he shouldn't be doing this or anything like that. You have the right to do what you want and like have fun and if you want to party with strippers during the pandemic, go for it. It's all bro, you do you. That's fine.
To each his own.
Yeah. I'm not judging him for that. My thing is always like you have a responsibility to represent your company and to represent the people that you're working with, and to put out when you're in a position of power and a position to be a role model, there is a certain amount of responsibility that you have to not have that out in the open. And hey, if you don't want to, that's fine, but there's going to be consequences.
Yeah. And he got let go, and he got let go, so it all resolved itself.
Yeah.
Especially
my thing is always going against people that are like, oh, Paul Pierce getting canceled for no reason, or like Paul Pierce getting canceled for living his life, and it's like,
no, he's not getting canceled for that.
I was like, no.
Also, canceling isn't really a thing. It's called holding people accountable. Too.
Absolutely, 100%.
That's the other thing too. It was like there is no such thing as cancel culture. It's just holding people accountable. But also So like I definitely agree with what you're saying, because like we work for companies and stuff, and we have
I can't
there's a large responsibility we have of as much as maybe we don't like it sometimes or whatever. There's always that consciousness in the back of your mind, like, okay, like it's not just me, or it's not just management. When you think about that stuff, it's also your coworkers and all that stuff. But it resolved itself. It would have been just imagine how longer this would be in the news cycle if they did like some weird suspension thing, or like didn't even address it. They just had him on the jump the next day.
Well, this is the kind of thing like we talked. I know you brought up Russillo and his issues. I think for me, it's on YouTube and you can find it. Russillo's apology when he came back on the air, because he did get suspended once it happened. For anyone who doesn't know, Ryan Russillo got suspended for he took a vacation. I forget where he went, but he was talking about this vacation the entire time, and he was gone for like a month, and everyone was like, "Whoa, what happened?" Basically, he had gotten super, super drunk and then walked into a hotel room that wasn't his and just knocked out.
Yeah, apparently his key card worked for that room too, is what he said. Yeah,
right. And so he got arrested and charged with breaking and entering or I think unlawful exposure, something like that, something like that, indecent exposure. And so his apology when he came back on air to me was perfect, because it was a thing of I have no one to blame.
Up to it.
Yeah, I have no one to blame. This is what happened. I fucked up. I drank too much. I need to take responsibility. Like, I'm lucky to have this job, or I'm lucky to be in this position to be do what I do for a living, and I don't take it for granted. And like all this stuff, like it is the thing of like, hey, I know I fucked up. I'm owning up to it, and like it's not gonna happen again. And that's, to me, is all you can really do. And it shows a lot of maturity to be able to admit, like, I made a mistake, and like, okay, let's move on. And for that, I can respect you. For Paul Pierce, it just seemed like he didn't know, like he didn't even acknowledge like I did anything wrong, or like and like dude, that's fine, cool. But you probably shouldn't be working with a platform now that is family representative and like a Disney related company. Like, you can't work for a Disney related company and have
he's probably gonna make his own media company. I don't need like an apology or anything. I just thought this story was crazy and interesting. It's really
to be completely honest, not like we're losing much in terms of NBA analysis here. So I'm not upset.
No, absolutely. You're absolutely correct about that. But no, and like I mentioned earlier, like, yeah, there is definitely a part of me that is just like, well, what do you mean by, representing the company? Because I also think that could be used as a veil sometimes to limit your talent and stuff like that. But I see both sides of it. Like, I understand that when you have a job, you represent the people that you work for, whatever you say, and if you get caught for it, well, then you get caught for it, and I don't need an apology or anything. But it seems like it resolved itself, and I just thought I remember waking up that morning and, and the video just started surfacing. Bradley Beal was tweeting about it, and everybody was, I was like, wait, what's going on? And I saw the best tweet I saw was, it was like Paul Pierce out here looking like Slurms McKenzie from Futurama. So that's one of my favorite Futurama episodes ever. So I immediately got that reference. I was like, "Oh my god!"
My favorite part of the episode is at the end of you start to feel really bad for Slurms McKenzie because he's like when he sacrifices himself at the end, he's like, "Party on, boys!"
Yep. And he looks all beat up and stuff.
Yeah.
You just feel bad for him. He's just like, I'm tired of partying.
Yeah, Slurms, what are you doing?
Just
what I do best.
Some of those screenshots, I was just like, yeah, man, this is just, I don't, maybe it's just me, but it just doesn't look fun.
The best part to me is it gets, like, as you watch the video, it gets worse and worse. Because you watch it for a second, you're like, oh, it's just Paul Pierce, he has a headache, he's tired, whatever, he's like bloodshot, he's tired.
He has a headache.
And then it pans out, and there's a girl in a bikini massaging him, and you're like, all right, like, whatever, that's, maybe he's like getting a massage or whatever, he's tired, he's talking. And then it pans out more, and there's his boy next to a table with like a whole bunch of alcohol on it. You're like, oh,
it's like, oh, something's
and then it moves over a little more, and there's chips and like money and stuff everywhere, and you're like, what is going on? And then he pulls it up, and there's a girl twerking on the floor, and you're like, what is going on?
Yeah, that it was definitely one of those, like the scenes in a cartoon or whatever where somebody like keeps pulling back, like you remember like in SpongeBob where he was arguing with Patrick and he kept pulling back all the bad stuff that Patrick was doing, and he's just like this, no, like this, no, and it just kept getting worse and worse and worse. Yeah. That's what it was like. But no, man, I want to see what Paul Pierce does. I'm always interested when athletes launch, like, not launch, but this is definitely where it's headed. Paul Pierce is definitely going to be starting his own quote unquote platform, and it's easy to do nowadays. Yeah. And I imagine he's looking at Steven Jackson and Matt Barnes and all those guys. It's just like, you know what? I'm just going to go do that. And that's honestly probably another reason why he posted that video. Well, like we said, he didn't care, but part of the reason he doesn't care is just like, look, even if ESPN fires me, I'm the fucking truth. Like, that's probably what he's thinking at the end of the day,
Again, though, I think you feel the same way I do in that, like, yeah, he's a Hall of Famer, but like, man, they've gotten a lot out of that one championship, and like, I don't know.
Yeah, dude, they really did. Like, also, I will say this about Kendrick Perkins. I like him a lot in long form media as opposed to TV media. I think that's what I've come to realize with a lot of these guys, actually. I think Perk's basketball analysis has actually gotten better, and it's better in long form. I could disagree with them, but I could at least see where he's coming from.
Perk's main strength to me is always with like the locker room stuff and like the chemistry stuff and like inside the NBA stuff where you're like, man, he really gets,
and he'll give you that tough love sometimes with that Texas ass accent of his. Yeah. Like, that's what I like about it.
He really understands. Like, he really understands. Like, this is super corny, but like he really understands like what it is inside the NBA and like those relationships and like those like who the people are and like what they're going through.
And that's important.
Hell yeah, it is. And like, so when he talks about a player. Like, sometimes when he talks basketball, I'm like, okay, I disagree with you. But then sometimes when he talks about, like, well, his mindset is here and he needs to get here. And I'm like, yeah, Perk, you say it.
Yeah, exactly. And with Paul Pierce, like, I'm just there for the stories. Because, like, when he's on pods and stuff, he really gives some crazy stories. Because if you hear a lot of stories from, well, it's like with any championship team or team that's been together for a long time, like you hear story, like you live to hear the old players tell stories about that stuff, like about how, you know, KG would be screaming at everybody on the airplane, including Paul, over cards, or how Paul Pierce bet KG 100 stacks or whatever it was that one time on the plane. It's like, wow, like these stories are great. But yeah, ESPN's TV coverage did not lose much. Well, not that they really had much, aside from like a few guys like Matt Barnes and Richard Jefferson. And all their stuff actually is moving behind a paywall, which actually gives me some hope that they are looking at investing into good content. Because Zach Lowe's behind a paywall now. I've been paying for ESPN Plus for a minute now, but you notice that they're moving stuff behind the paywall, and they're kind of keeping, I don't know, like they're keeping the junk, so or I guess for lack of a better word, more on the forefront of the webpage. But behind ESPN Plus, there's the paywall and stuff where you get the actual good stuff. But ESPN really didn't lose much in terms of basketball take them. They could just go wherever and find that, you know.
I'm pretty happy about where we're at with that. Again,
pretty happy with where you cut out right there. You were happy with what?
I'm pretty happy with, like, if there was one person that we needed to lose from the ESPN NBA coverage, like, completely fine with it being Paul Pierce.
Yeah. That's for sure. So you had a tweet to get off after your beloved UCLA Bruins lost on a really just it was a great game. First of all, I didn't watch the whole game, so I probably so like I was telling you before, I was watching the Sixers Timberwolves game, and you know the game. Karl Anthony Towns absolutely baptized Embiid in that game. A rusty Embiid, but he got baptized nonetheless. It was nasty. Like, and it was not one of those like side swipe. The body's in the pitcher type of like he caught a full on body on Embiid. Like he dunked all over him, and I was laughing.
And the thing is, like, I don't even think the rust had anything to do with that particular play, because he fully went up and like he was in position. He was
a little late on the curl part of the action where Anthony Towns came and caught the ball, but Embiid tried to recover and he popped him, dude. Like he got him out, and I reacted. I was like, "Oh shit!" Like that was my reaction.
Yeah, I was watching the UCLA game, and so of course my whole feed was the UCLA game, and like everything trending was that UCLA game because that was the biggest thing on.
Yeah.
But then all of a sudden, Cat started trending and Embiid, and I was like, "What is this?" And I clicked it, and I was like, "Oh shit!"
yeah. It was nasty. But after that game, I tuned into the UCLA Gonzaga game. It was with about 5 minutes left in the second half, and man, that game was a doozy. Like I haven't gotten that much thrill from a college game probably since the 2016 North Carolina Villanova championship game, the Chris Jenkins shot. The one that's probably the most recent one that comes to mind. But I wanted to do a semantical argument with you. Not an argument, but I had a little semantical thing that I had a quibble with about your tweet, Mr. Chris Okamura. The one where you talked about Jalen Suggs' shot and how
the heave?
The heave, the prayer. I just want to say, did he mean to bank that in? Probably not.
So.
No, he did not mean to bank. I would be hard pressed to believe that he wanted to bank that in. But I
know where you're going with this, and so keep your question. Right?
I do want to say it did look like it was calculated. He looked at where he was going to take off once he stepped beyond the half court. It looked like he was measuring it up. It looked like he shot it like a normal, not like a heave or a desperation like you normally would see at the end of a quarter or a game. He jumped, he loaded, sprung up, jumped, and shot it like not normal because it's probably a little out of his range, but he definitely took aim. Like if there was a lot of it that was calculated. I will say that, but it was a miraculous shot.
So, yeah. So my original, for context, my original tweet was something to the effect of, let me see if I can find it. The original point of was, oh, here we go. As great as Suggs had, and as great a player as he is, please do not tell me that the last second he was a great. He threw up a prayer and banked it in. It's an incredible finish to an incredible game, but that was not an indication of his skill level. So I get coming across with it, and reading it again, tweet does come across harsh, intending it to come across. This was in response to a lot of people saying Lillard, Steph Curry type of shot, and that he's in that class of shooter. Can't leave him open. And they were calling out UCLA for not defending on that last play. And I was like, dude, he ran down the court and launched a three. Like, what do you want them to do? And it's not like he's a knockdown 3-point shooter he banked in a three.
Also, I'm pretty sure the defender would be terrified of fouling in that situation too.
And the thing is too was like a lot of people were saying like this is why Jalen Suggs is going to be the top pick in the draft. And I was like, okay, hold on, timeout. This last shot is great, but it's not. He had 4 or 5 or 6 other incredible plays that show his skill way more than this last shot.
That sequence where he got the block and did the bounce pass in transition towards 100%. That to me encapsulates Jalen Suggs. I was just like, that is like an all-time like I'm the best player on the floor type of moment. Now, like he got the block, he recovered.
A little bit of a foul, but even so, it's an incredible play. And to me, people should be talking about that in terms of not in terms of the highlight, because obviously the shot's the highlight, but in terms of discussing him as a prospect and as a player. That play, the block to the pass, should be the key point of your argument for him as a player rather than the shot. And so many people jumped onto the shot right away of like, this is why he's a top prospect, when literally there's a highlight reel from the rest of this game that shows it way more.
The season.
Yeah. But I'm just saying, like, for people that are only watching this game and don't really watch a lot of college basketball, like there is 4 or 5 or 6 plays in this game that are way better than that last shot in terms of looking at his skill level as a player.
But man, what a team though, the Zags, and also what a run by UCLA. By the way, have to give them props because they were in the play-in, weren't they? They were like in the play-in.
That was my tweet too. My
tournament.
Yeah, they're in the first 4 and they made it to the final 4, which is crazy. But I was laughing. My tweet was, I put out a tweet that was like, I expected UCLA to get blown out tonight, and I went into the game with 0 expectations. Then UCLA played an almost perfect game, pulled me in, and then I got hurt anyway.
Yeah, a lot of UCLA fans kind of got, kicked in the stomach there with that one.
There's some great videos of like people celebrating after they get the layup to tie up the game, and then just instant mood switch as soon as
that's the classic like March Madness. That would imagine if things were opened and you saw that type of video at a bar or something, or like a bar on UCLA Row. I don't even remember what the area was called. I went to UCLA. Westwood. Thank you. That was a terrible faux pas on my part because one of my mutual friends went to UCLA and I'd been there a few times with the homies, and so I feel bad for forgetting that. But just imagine a video from one of the bars down there, and just on the flip side, Gonzaga, that's the other thing too. Like, I'm glad we got these March Madness games back, but the fan electricity is there, but you could tell it's lacking like a few hundred megawatts. If that makes any sense.
No, I totally get what you're saying. So here's what I want to talk to you about, Jordan.
Okay.
Has Suggs done enough in your mind to put him ahead of Cade or Mobley?
So I want to preface this by saying that I am completely behind on my homework on these prospects.
Sure.
I want to get like a month and a half, watch probably 3 or 4 games of the big guys and see how I rank them and stuff like that. But obviously, from what I've seen of Cade Cunningham, I mean, I would take him easily. Maybe by the end of my, tape study and stuff, probably won't be as easy, but the skill set, 6'8", unselfish, has figured out how to shoot the hell out of the ball. Because remember, in high school, he wasn't as dead-eye of a shooter as he is now.
We talked about this at one of our first episodes. We talked about this, and I said, his only thing with me is shooting. And he figured it out.
And he figured it out. He's an elite shooter now, which is kind of crazy. And so I would take that skill set. And also, he's a smart team defender. But Suggs would absolutely be in my top 3. Right now, I'd probably say Evan Mobley is second, only because when it comes for me in prospects, I'm drawn to, obviously we talked about this before, wingspan and just
long boys
and just unique skill sets. And for me, I look at Evan Mobley and I'm just like, this guy has a handle. He can defend. Not only defend, he can protect the rim and he could switch. From what I've seen, I just want to preface this with what I've seen. And it looks like he has shooting range. So it's like, I look at that skill set and I'm just like, it's tantalizing. And I would definitely keep him up there at 2. But then I look at Suggs, great athlete, multi-sport athlete, makes all the whatever the cliche of winning plays, he makes it. Like I said, go look at that block sequence, that block to pass sequence. That dude gives a shit about the outcome of the game. And, and that gets thrown around a lot, but you could see it on Suggs' face. He wants to win. He'll do whatever it takes to make that, deflection or that late rotation to get the block or, passing it to the next guy in the corner who's open. And, the shooting is definitely not up to snuff. But if you count on his work ethic, which I think we have undervalued over the last few years, you would have to believe he'd be at least a good shooter. And with his athleticism and, him being really solid at everything else, I could definitely see Suggs and Cunningham too, obviously. But I could definitely see a case next season where Suggs and Cunningham are battling for the number or the rookie of the year. And mainly because Suggs will look like he's more NBA ready. But I have to look more at Jalen Green. I have to look at a few of the other guys before I make anything definitive. But I've loved Jalen Suggs all year, by the way. I'm probably a bigger Jalen Suggs fan than the average person who actually writes about this.
You're probably a bigger fan than I am. I have both of the Jalen's pretty lower than a lot of people. I have them in the top 5, but I don't have them. My top 3 for a long time has been Cade, Mobley, and I like Kuminga a lot.
Mm-hmm.
I know we haven't had a lot of a good track record in the last couple of years of people from the Congo and the Beat and the Mo Bambas and Isaac Bongas and those kind of guys, but I do love Kuminga's skill set and I love the length and he's another long boy. And
of course.
I love his skill set and I think he's gonna be great. Again, he's raw and I think the G League's helping him quite a bit. But I had both Jalen's in the 4 or 5 spot and I had them kind of flipping back and forth, but Suggs definitely helped his case here, and I have no doubt that they're going to blow out Baylor either. So
and that national championship game is that's going to be on tonight, I believe, or it might be. Let me see.
It might already be on. But yeah, so something to keep in mind of these guys are coming in and they're coming in hot.
Yeah, it's coming. Yeah, it's going to be on in about an hour. Yeah, about an hour from now. So I'm excited to see that. This is the matchup everybody wanted. Even though I think Gonzaga has pretty much shown all year that
they're the best team.
That they're the best team.
Yeah, and I don't think it's close either. They are really good. They move the ball like an NBA team.
Yeah, and they have NBA prospects and all that. And even though I want to see more what's his name, Davion Mitchell, I want to see him a bit more also. So it'll be a fun matchup tonight. That's the other thing too, like outside of like the early and middle-ish part of the college season, like I kind of tail off of that for more NBA and football off-season stuff, and then I kind of go back in March Madness, and then I do my stuff at the end. So it's a little screwy for me right now. But I will definitely give you an updated board by the time draft comes around, because I really want to dig into this top 5, because it seems like it's going to be a top 5, and then it's going to be a drop off after that.
Yeah, definitely.
That's what it seems like it's going to be. I wanted to talk about the Golden State Warriors real quick. If you don't,
that was another topic I wanted to get to too.
Okay, well then let's just get into it. So yeah, I'm pretty sure after watching, this iteration of the Warriors for the last 2 seasons, I'm pretty sure we can say now that Steve Kerr is a lot more like Phil Jackson than Greg Popovich.
Yeah.
And it might be in the worst ways, especially around the timeline that this team is in right now. Steve Kerr's worst qualities as a coach are shining the most, and it's been the most detrimental. I don't understand why every time the Warriors are in a game, Steve Kerr sticks with these rigid-ass rotations where in the fourth quarter, Steph and Draymond do not check in until about the 7-minute mark. 7 minutes or under, and the deficit is already expanding. And it's like, you guys know you suck without Steph on the floor, Steph and Draymond on the floor. Like, why? Why are they not out there? And not only that, why are they not in the fourth quarter at the 9-minute mark like any other normal rotation? Why are they still running motion offense to get it's basically the offense now just looks like Steph running around and relocating and hoping guys will find him. But they are basically running a PhD offense for a bunch of players that have no idea how to run that offense. And not only that, that offense is so specifically tailor-made for those 3 players that I don't even know if it's even replicable. If you had half of those guys, or even like a team with a half decent amount of players that could even run that at an average level. I don't understand why they don't run more pick and roll. Steve Kerr talks about the beautiful game and all this stuff. Like, we shouldn't be just pick and roll and motion and well, guess what? Your personnel cannot run your damn offense. And it's time to it's the Phil Jackson thing. You guys have to adjust to the system. The system knows all. And it's like, oh God, we're doing this now. Like, I have to say, my thoughts on Steve Kerr as a coach have kind of been lowered a bit. And no, this isn't me doing recency bias or whatever. A lot of prominent Warriors people that, do podcasts, have popular Warriors podcasts like Warriors World, etc. They've been complaining about this. And it's going to be interesting, man, because Steph is extension eligible this summer. He hasn't signed it yet. And you could just tell winning's wearing on him. Think about this, dude. They are wasting another Steph MVP caliber season because Steve Kerr treats James Wiseman like a child now. He's not letting him develop. They're not letting the number 3 overall pick develop. He's supposed to be the bridge to your guys' future, but he's getting, benched sometimes, benched in the fourth quarter, playing like 20 minutes a game. Like, if I want James Wiseman playing 25 minutes a game, he better be fouling out almost damn near every game.
Yeah.
Like, I just don't get the Warriors, man. And it might be time for some moves.
This is kind of the thing that I was saying. If you're stuck, right? And I understand the loyalty part of it and like him wanting to stay and stuff like that. But I think
it would be cool too, like as a fan.
Absolutely. Yeah. But my thing is, if you're Steph and you look at the Warriors right now, even if you get Klay back and he's healthy, does that fix your problems?
No, I think they would be a better team, obviously, but that
Oh
doesn't
yeah,
fix
obviously.
any problems.
Do
No,
they still have the same issues even with Klay? They still have the same issues, and their supporting cast is terrible.
mm-hmm.
Like I don't know what their plan is, and it could be a thing of like Morey did it really really well, and I think Morey did it probably better than anyone of keeping the Rockets relevant for longer than anyone ever expected them to be. Think about how long they were relevant for.
Since 2008. Think about it. Morey was the GM with the McGrady Yao teams, and he somehow kept turning it and turning it and turning it. Yeah.
But the thing is, like, that's so rare, and it feels like the Warriors are doing that now, where they're just trying to keep turning it, and it's devolved into like I don't know what it is. Their roster is absolutely horrible.
It's horrid.
It's one of the weirdest things I've ever seen because you kind of look at it and you go, they have names and they have people that people know, but like man, they are not a good fit and they're not good. This roster is bad.
Yeah. Think about like Oubre, Wiggins. It's all a weird fit. Think about when Klay comes back too. Like it's really bad. And obviously the Warriors had that losing streak when Steph went down with the tailbone, and then Steph came back, showed why he was an MVP again. Like I was watching the Miami game last week where Oladipo made his debut, and by the way, like that's going to be fun to track towards the stretch run of the season. But it was every time Steph and Draymond were in the game, the Warriors were in it. They were the Heat would extend the lead. Then whenever Steph and Draymond were on the court, the game was close, and they kept the game close. And then by the time the fourth quarter starts, Steve has an all bench lineup to start the quarter, and he keeps it in for like 6 minutes. And the Heat are extending this lead to like 10 to 12, and then they finally bring Steph and Draymond in, and they're pulling them back into the game again. But by the time that happens, it's too late. And I don't know what it is. Like Steve Kerr always talks about like, we got to figure it out. We got to make adjustments or whatever. It's like, no, you got to make the adjustment, dude. You got to stop thinking that these guys can run this really rare motion offense. You got to stop thinking that you got to start using Steph Curry as like an on-ball threat, more of an on-ball threat with pick and rolls and things of that nature. You got to let Wiseman make mistakes and fuck up because, again, he's 19 years old, and prior to this NBA season, he had only played 3 college games. 3. And yes, he has some stuff to iron out, but there is no reason why you can't like address the low-hanging fruit stuff. Like I'm looking right now on NBA.com's minutes leaders in the fourth quarter, and Steph isn't even in the top 50. You know how wild that is? Like that's insane.
I could see it as like this season's a wash. Let's just save Steph's legs.
But they're trying to do both at once, is what it seems like.
Yeah, it's weird. I don't know. It would have made so much more sense for them to just like trade Wiggins or get rid of Wiggins, get rid of Oubre, and then just kind of like fully tank, and then try to pick up like if you get another top pick, you could easily turn it around.
Or you could draft better. Like your late round picks didn't hit. You could have drafted Lamelo, but we all know Steve Kerr doesn't like, LeVar Ball. Like, think about this. Think about how good Lamelo would be right now for the Warriors. Like, think of Lamelo when Klay comes back, and you have Steph and Klay spotting up with Lamelo running the floor in the center. Yeah. Oh my God. Exactly. Like the Warriors had the second pick. Or I know I said earlier Wiseman was the third pick. The Warriors had the second pick. Yeah. And they could have had LaMelo Ball, or they could have traded for Lonzo Ball, and none of that happened. Like those guys would be helpful on the Warriors right now. And also, like I know Draymond Green brings a lot with his defense and passing, but when guys are literally sagging under the second nail in the paint on your threes. You cannot just sit there and wait for Steph to relocate on a three ball like you're running some PhD offense. No, dude, just shoot the damn ball. Like, there is no reason he should be averaging under 10 points per game. Like, I know it's Draymond, but come on, dude. This was a guy who scored 32 points in a game 7 of an NBA Finals and hit 4 threes or whatever it was. Like, the de-evolution of Draymond's shot is one of the more weird and fascinating things that I have seen from a player, because at one point he improved his 3-point shot to, what was it, 37% in the 73 win season, and you're like, well, if he that's the one player you would want to take the shots, and if Draymond keeps shooting 37% from 3, then this thing is over. And all of a sudden, it got worse. There was more of a hitch in it. He's putting more of his upper back into it. It looks, it's really the equivalent is that meme, that classic meme where it's like Draymond looks like he's shooting with a backpack on. Yeah. It really has turned into that. So there's a lot of stuff going on with the Warriors right now.
Their cap is messed up too. Like they got, okay.
Well, yeah, their big 3 is tied up.
Yeah, like. I said when they signed Draymond to that deal, I said they're going to regret that. Like, they're going to regret it. And at this point, yeah, Draymond's he's great at what he does and what he provides, but when he's taking up that much of your cap and you have so many more holes around Steph and Klay, I don't know if he's the right guy.
Yeah. If it was if they had a little bit more of their holes plugged up, I could maybe see that deal. But the thing is, like, that deal is supposed to be a win now move, and this roster doesn't scream win now at all. Nor do the coaching decisions. I can't harp on this enough. The coaching in the front office, like, it really just seems like everything was just caught lightning in a bottle, and they knew how to maneuver. Well, I don't know how much maneuverability you should get. I don't know how much credit you should get for your maneuverability when you get a lucky cap spike and then sign Kevin fucking Durant, right? Yeah. But they did it. They did it. I'll give them credit. But
I mean, I could be GM of the year then if I was the GM of the Warriors at that point.
Yeah, but it seemed like everything was caught in a lightning in a bottle situation, and now that this run is over, we're kind of seeing, like, one, how hard it is to keep a championship team together. 2, what we can now properly assess their skills as management people and front office guys, because now they're kind of more back into basketball reality. Because remember, some of these moves too were from Jerry West, like before this dynasty started. Like, I swear, I will always love Jerry West, because it felt like when everybody was talking about Klay Thompson and the Kevin Love trade, like before the 2015 season happened, I was like I felt like I was one of the few people where I was like, are you kidding me? Like, why would you trade Klay Thompson? Like, you have something special with this backcourt. Because I feel like I mentioned on this podcast before, with the Warriors, I felt like I was the hipster who discovered the rock band before it became cool, especially because I loved Curry going back to Davidson. But Jerry West basically said, if you trade Klay Thompson, I quit. And that basically ended it. Klay Thompson stayed, and the Warriors have 3 championships and 5 finals appearances. And now that this is over, we're kind of seeing what it really is in the NBA streets.
No, I totally agree. I think there is a certain amount of I think there was a lot of oversight, or not oversight, but I think there's a lot of overhype for this front office that, like, hey, they drafted well. You could argue they lucked into Klay and Steph. And then drafted Draymond, who's a great pickup later on in the draft. But after that, like, what is there really?
Yeah, Harrison Barnes was an instrumental draft pick. Also, we should give him credit for that, because he did unlock the famous death lineup. Also,
right.
Andre Iguodala was a great trade. They did do some good things during the run. It's just towards the end of the Kevin Durant era, like, you saw the lack of late round hits that caught up to them, like Kevon Looney, for example, a few others, Damian Jones, all those guys. They really didn't pan out. And now we're looking at it again. Eric Paschall, Jordan Poole, he had a good stretch, but then he got hurt, and now he's kind of back to the normal Jordan Poole, where he struggled last year mightily as a rookie. Yeah, man, I wouldn't be surprised if we went through this whole summer and Steph doesn't sign an extension. Like, it would not surprise me one bit if Steph didn't sign his extension and he just goes into next season with the last year on his deal.
And he goes into the Lakers.
Oh my God. That happened. Honestly, I would love to see that. I would love to see like Curry play with LeBron or like somebody like Embiid. Like if Morey could just swing a trade, you know, for
LeBron, AD, Steph would be unstoppable.
I think Steph and Embiid would be fun because Embiid attracts so much Steph-like gravity in the paint, while Curry attracts so Embiid-like defensive attention out on the perimeter. And so I would love to see defenses just literally break in half because they are trying to defend a Steph Embiid pick and roll or pick and pop. That would be fun. Dude,
imagine LeBron AD's pick and roll with Steph running around. How do you stop that?
That would be stupid. But thank God it's not going to happen, and the Lakers won't do anything. Because that would be dumb. I would quit this podcast.
It's the NBA's worst nightmare.
It really would be, and also it would be a complete 180 from LeBron because LeBron doesn't. Well, I don't know how much of that is true now, but LeBron definitely looked at Steph with a scoff when he was getting his MVPs.
Well, Perk and a lot of other people have said that like LeBron's trying to recruit Steph.
Yeah, Windhorse said that. Windhorse with his, I'm not reporting it, but I'm saying it, and so I'm not reporting it though. The type of talk that he always does.
But then I was laughing because when we got LeBron and we got AD, I remember tweeting like, "This is revenge to the rest of the NBA for the Chris Paul thing."
That's only because. So I understand why Laker fans always go back to that, but David Stern was the owner of the Pelicans at the time.
Yeah.
So I just want to point that out.
No, I understand why it happened. My point was that David Stern the NBA should not own a team.
Absolutely.
Decisions at that point.
Absolutely. 100% agree with you there. But that was the reality of it. I just reflexively argue with Laker fans about that point because I did it my whole high school. When that happened throughout high school, I argued with Lakers. I was like, also, not going to lie, part of me as a Laker hater, I was like, yeah, that's right. Reject that trade. I don't give a shit. Reject that shit.
Dude, a Kobe, Chris Paul backcourt in their primes would have been incredible.
Dude, Chris Paul would have been crying with joy, if he was playing. Because think about Chris Paul's mentality and his attitude, and how much he loves basketball,
dude.
Yeah, him and Kobe would have been great to watch together. Just like in the same way that I imagine Kobe and KG would have been fun together. Because I know KG said that he was thinking about going to the Lakers instead of the it was the Celtics, it was the Lakers and the Suns before his last year in Minnesota, and he didn't choose the Suns because they would have traded Amari and a bunch of pieces, and he would have been basically going to the same Minnesota team in Phoenix, and then the Celtics was just more feasible because they ended up getting Ray Allen too. And so I love hearing stories like that. This is why players should be on long form platforms more. But you wanted to bring up something else that you wanted that was on your mind about the league.
Oh, so yeah, the Warriors were one. I don't, because everyone's saying like, oh well, Klay's hurt. The one thing I hear from Warriors fans is like Klay's hurt, and I was like, well, I don't know if Klay fixes any of these problems. No,
Klay doesn't make him a contender. No.
And so I don't know what their plan is. And if I was Steph, I would not sign this extension. Like I need to see more. But anyway, we talked at the death. I want to bring up the Hornets here really quick. Is the injury...
I'm making a video on the Hornets right now.
Yeah. Oh, really? Are you?
Yes, I am. I was kind of scared because I pre-recorded it, and they started losing more games, and they weren't the 4th seed anymore. And I recorded specifically that they were the 4th seed in the East, so I had to do a little re-recording. But yeah, it's coming this Wednesday, hopefully.
So here's my question for you.
Yes,
we talked about the fade for Cade stuff, and so is this kind of the best of both worlds with Haywood and Lamelo getting hurt? Is this now kind of the best of both worlds where you go, oh, they might still get a high seed, or like they might still miss the playoffs and like get a high pick here? Where they were good and they were fun and everyone is excited about them and they might attract free agents, but they also might get a good pick still.
They're still winning games, by the way, without Lamelo, and I think Gordon Hayward's injury is actually going to. Yeah, he's the one who makes it go and stuff. So this is going to be tough. But I think the unfortunate thing, to answer your question, I think the unfortunate thing is the Hornets are kind of in too deep now. So like, I don't think they're going to catch, unless they have some insane lottery luck thanks to the changed odds a few years ago. Yeah. I don't see them catching the Pistons. The Magic are going to be awful now, even though they have been playing scrappy since Aaron Gordon left. The Timberwolves stink. The Rockets stink. The Pistons stink. The Magic stink. The Cavaliers are once again on another rut. The Wizards are probably going to have another Russell Westbrook 2-week triple-double spree, and will probably put him back in the play-in. So,
like, I could see if the Hornets just continue to lose, because I don't see them winning a lot with Hayward gone now.
Yeah,
because they'll fall out of the playoffs. I think the Pacers will come up and grab them. I think the Bulls are going to be a lot better now with Vucevic and Levine. They're looking a lot better.
The Hornets lost their ball movers. They lost Lamelo, they lost Hayward, and Rozier can move the ball, but he's score first. So is Devontae, all those guys. So they're probably going to lose Monk. They're going to lose a lot of games now.
Yeah. So I could see them dropping out of the playoffs, and then once that happens, I mean, kind of
it is the best of both worlds. It's just I guess
even if they can grab like a mid-round pick, right? And grabbing something like, I don't know if his stock will go this high, right? But like a Johnny Zuzang, right? Someone just like a shot maker, spot up guy, plays defense, smart with the ball. Because that, like, a guy like Zuzang is perfect for Lamelo. Yeah, spot up shooter, confident, knows how to play, knows where to stand, knows where to be. That's the kind of guy on Lamelo. Yeah.
The Hornets are kind of
higher, and you can get like a top 10, and you can possibly get like a Kuminga or any one of those, because there's a lot of athletes in this draft.
Yeah, and the Hornets also have some movable contracts too that they could probably. I would have loved to see the Hornets at some point this year. I would have loved to see them get a competent center outside of Bismack Biyombo and Cody Zeller. It just really sucks that injuries have hit this team, because they were awesome to watch. Digging into like more. I keep thinking like, damn, we've seen a lot of close games with the Hornets this year, and like you look at their clutch numbers and stuff, and you're just like, holy shit! Like that is like the primary reason they have an above 500 record right now. I think they're 16-6 in games with that are 5 points or less with 5 minutes left in the game, and Terry Rozier is like leading that charge. This Hornets team in general has just been fun, and it sucks that the injuries have hit. But yeah, they're probably going to lose a lot of games, and they probably could benefit from using an extra lottery pick. So you're right, it is a win-win. I just would have liked to, seen them try to make the playoffs. But they are going to try, obviously. But they just lost too many. They've lost one too many important cogs in the offense, so to speak.
Yeah. 100%. So we'll see. My thing was just like, man, could drop out and be really, really good now? And I was like, maybe this is a good thing.
Yeah, they could. They could luck in, and they could hit one of those Pelicans odds, right? Yeah, and end up getting the number one pick.
That was the kind of thing where I was like, man, if they could just get into the lottery and like let the balls do their job, like you never know.
Or a frozen envelope. No.
Yeah,
Michael Jordan it's like, hey, Adam,
hey man, I think so. This comes to another question that I wanted to bring up too. And again, this is sort of like an interesting. I think there's an easy answer, and I think there's an easy answer, and I think it gets a little more complicated the more kind of you look into it. When LeBron retires, who's the face of the league? And to me, it's come down to Luka and Zion, with Lamelo kind of sneaking in there.
I think that is way too early for that. I think once LeBron retires, so
Like,
okay, so what age do you think LeBron? Let's do a hypothetical age.
Realistically, I think in the next 4 years, 5 years.
Okay, so when LeBron's 40,
yeah,
and let's just cap it at 40. So when LeBron retires, he's going to be 40 years old. Yes. So at this point, the face of the leagues will definitely not. Lamelo will be one of them. I think Lamelo is going to be a special point guard. I just think he does stuff that obviously we both think that he does things that not a lot of players can do or see. But I think Embiid's going to be 30 at that point. It's right there in his prime. Jokic as well, especially after those two guys battle for MVP for the next few years, and they brought back the big man.
I don't know if they have I think Embiid more than Jokic, but I think the star power and the personality of Zion and Luka, I think carry a little bit more than Embiid.
I disagree. I love it. Embiid has more personality than those two. A guy who shit talks everybody and engages people.
I get that, but I'm saying in terms of the highlight and the marketability, I don't think the.
Okay, yeah, because they're ball handlers. I get it.
Yeah, they're the way that they handle the ball. Because think of it, when you look at sort of faces of the league, it usually comes down to a lot of it comes down to highlights and visibility. Shaq was the best player in the league for a long time, but he was never kind of the face of the league in the same way that Michael was, or even Kobe was, right?
I think in the early 2000s, you could point to a lot of
small gap between Jordan and Kobe, but when I could see small gaps where it's okay, it's an Embiid for a year or two, but then when you're talking about the next guy, I think it's
Luka, Zion, those are definitely good ones. Lamelo, if he could bring Charlotte back to being a 55, 57 win team, then yeah, I could definitely see him being a face of the league. But I just think at that point, this generation of stars, the guys our age, or the guys from 26 to 30 right now, I think those guys are going to be the next in line to be the quote unquote face of the league. But maybe down the road, obviously those next generation of guys, Luka, Zion, the guys that are 23 and under, those guys could definitely be next in line. I'm not saying you're wrong. LaMelo could definitely, his play style is awesome. He plays a position that everybody gravitates towards that caters to today's game. And he plays with flair, so he could definitely be the face of a league. I just think with the way we consume basketball now and stuff, I also think that's going to change it continues to change and is going to change. And I just think since we're more smarter about how we, in a lot of ways we're smarter, but in a lot of ways we're also a lot dumber too about how we talk about stuff. But I think people will look at it and be like, okay, now it's the next, guys' turns, Embiid and Jokic. If you look at who everybody's talking about, when Embiid wasn't hurt, it was Embiid, Jokic, LeBron, Jokic and Embiid bringing the big man back. You look at Jokic and Giannis fooling around during the All-Star game, the next stars of the game coming up. I just think there's a lineage or a not a passing down of the torch, I guess, but there's a next in line type thing that I think we might be skipping it over too soon to LaMelo. Also, we'll have to see it for a year or two. Also, not not that I'm saying that I don't think Lamelo will be that, but we still have to wait and see.
Again, this is super like
it's an easy answer. It's an easy answer, but also like when you look into it,
to me the easy answer is Zion. But I think the more interesting answer is Luka.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think Luka has a little bit more cockiness and a little bit more swag to him than Zion does. And the international touch too, I think, doesn't hurt at all.
I think once the Grizzlies start taking the leap and growing up too, like not growing up like I'm not saying that in a mean way, but like, once the young guys start getting their legs in the league and growing up in the league, I think Ja Morant's going to be right up there too. Ja Morant is. I just love how Ja Morant plays. It's so unselfish, but he doesn't look like that. The type of skill set and athleticism he has doesn't lend. That type of player does not play unselfishly. Like you never see. Like when was the last time you saw a guard with that burst and that handle and speed not be like a score first mentality guy like this? Yeah, John Wall. You're absolutely right. And you say, but then you think of like Westbrook, D-Rose, like that type of.
I loved Prime John Wall. Prime John Wall is one of my favorite players of all time.
Yeah, I love Prime John Wall. But like when you think of players with those athletic builds and skill sets, you think like Westbrook or D-Rose, where they score first, right? But not with John Morant or John Wall. And
John Wall was the best. He was the fastest player I've ever seen, and he'd speed down the court and have like. Everyone would converge, and he just dump it off to someone. You're like, oh my god, this guy.
I'd go Allen Iverson, John Wall, Westbrook, and D Rose. Those are probably the three fastest guards of it. And De'Aaron Fox is quickly rising up the ranks.
He's up there,
he's the fastest guy in the league, I think, right now. When that dude dusts you, like it's like your shoes are stuck in cement. Like he has had some nasty crossovers and dunks where you're just like, wait, what the hell happened? I was just getting in a stance, and next thing you know, De'Aaron Fox is behind me. Like it. But there's definitely the league's in good hands, man. There's a lot of talent around there. And speaking of Jokic, let me just I want to talk about the Denver Nuggets real quick,
bruh. I'm changing.
I'm changing.
I know we talked about it last week. We need to see more shit.
I've seen enough. I want to put the Nuggets I want to give all respect to the Phoenix Suns, but I'm telling you, the way it's looking and the stuff I look for in a team come playoff time, I'm putting the Nuggets too. I think they're the second best team in the West. The Gordon trade has made everything fall into place. Michael Porter Jr. doesn't have to guard the next toughest guy. There's enough spacing around the court between Jokic, Murray, Will Barton, and Michael Porter Jr. that Aaron Gordon's instinctive cutting ability and Jokic's passing just make a glove fit pairing. Last night against the Magic, they had connected 16 out of Jokic's 16 assists. I think 6 assists went to Aaron Gordon, and he hit him on some nice backdoor cuts. The Clippers, Gordon was guarding Kawhi and actually holding his own. And it's like, that would have been something Michael Porter Jr. would have had to do, or hope that Gary Harris gets healthy enough to be able to stay on the court, which I also think is just the main thing I like this trade, is that the Nuggets got somebody that could take those extra 30 minutes per game and allocate them to somebody else. And Gordon is now in the role where he is the third or fourth option. I think one of the players yesterday, might have been Will Barton, a Nuggets player had a quote out of the post game yesterday and saying that he was talking with Aaron Gordon about how Gordon was laughing because these are some of the easiest baskets he's got. And I think he's shooting 64% since joining the Nuggets. So I imagine he is definitely enjoying himself. And he just plugs up so many things defensively. They might not ever have the high level rim protection, but they were a sieve on the perimeter. And they really missed Jeremy Grant and Torrey Craig. And now they got a supercharged version of that with Gordon. And now everything else falls into place where Millsap can come off the bench and he might not be the same player, but it's 10 minutes a game. That's fine. PJ Dozier can finally get some minutes. Monty Morris is back. They have Facu Campazzo. They just have the rotation is legit 10 deep now. They're back to the deep Denver Nuggets team, and with a better fourth wheel that makes everything just hum. So I love the Nuggets as my second best team in the West.
Yeah, they are so much better. I mean, we talked last week a couple weeks ago about how I loved Michael Porter Jr. at the 4.
Yeah,
and I thought it solved all their problems. And I talked last week about how it looked like Aaron Gordon was just, they point to it's like Michael Porter Jr. They point to Aaron Gordon. They're like, "This is what you should be in 3 years. This is what you want in 3 years." And
the thing is, there's so much size with skill too.
Yeah, the Aaron Gordon Jokic pick and rolls are terrifying.
Yep.
And then when you surround them with shooters, when you have Murray and Porter going out there, Will Barton going out there and spotting up, it makes it so impossible to guard. But the thing is, to me,
already impossible to guard too. That's the thing.
To me, the thing is defensively of how much it fixes with their matchups.
Yeah.
And again, when you can bring Millsap off the bench, it stabilizes your bench unit as well. So it just all around makes this whole thing work. And I brought up last week that I'm slowly putting them ahead of the Suns, and you said you need more time. And I think we're all at the point. We're both.
And then a few days later, I put in this Discord. I was like, yeah, I think fuck it. I'm ready to put the Nuggets there.
Yeah.
I'm interested in tracking their defensive rating over the next few weeks, because if they are just an average defense, it was the book on them last year. If they were just an average or a top 12 defense, then they're a contender, because they have a tier 1 franchise player, cold stop MVP front runner right now. And with the injuries and everything, Jokic had a great case, I think, throughout the year, but now I think he's the front runner. But they have everything now, and I really love this Nuggets team. So they are definitely, the Jazz should be scared. The Suns, the reason I put them over the Suns too is because I want to see them in the playoffs first. The only guy with experience there is Chris Paul, right? But
that's a lot of
that is a lot of experience. But the Nuggets have also been through 2 playoff runs where they have played uncountless amounts of Game 7s and made it to the conference finals. Or came within 1 game of the conference finals, and then the next year went to the conference finals. And now they have found a defensive Swiss Army knife that could plug up a lot of their holes defensively. So it's exciting if you're a Nuggets fan.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's super exciting to be a Nuggets fan. I think it's gonna suck when the Lakers are the 7th seed and you run into them in the first round if they're fully healthy. And that's another thing that's gonna be really weird of obviously, the Lakers are going to get a low seed. The Lakers are going to get a 6th to 8th seed, and then at that point, if you're the Jazz or the Nuggets or the Suns, is part of you trying to maybe you're thinking let's let our foot off the gas a little and let's try to avoid this.
Chris Paul isn't thinking that, I guarantee you.
What's up?
Chris Paul isn't thinking that, I guarantee you that.
No. But I think Bill Sims brought this point too of it might be a good idea to get the Lakers in the very beginning when they're still trying to put everything together.
Yeah.
Which I don't disagree with, but I think, maybe avoiding them altogether might be the smaller stuff, or might be the more important thing. I don't know. Luka's scary, Luka's scary, but I'd rather play the Mavericks than the Lakers in the first round, right?
No, I'm not. I'm Luka's back, right? He's been playing this stretch he's been on has been way better than at any point he played last year, and he had an MVP caliber season last year. But I'm not scared of the Mavericks.
That took almost 4 months, but he's shooting
finally in shape, all that stuff. But I'm not scared of the Mavericks.
I'm scared I know everyone brought up last summer of this is Luka's MVP year this year. I'm scared for this season where, Luka's going to have the summer playing probably Olympic basketball.
Mm-hmm.
He's going to have a summer like where he's going to be able to work out and focus on his training. And I think he's realized like I can't just eat what I want. And I have to work on my diet. And I've heard a lot of stuff about him trying to get in shape and like really understanding and buying into all this like full year round training stuff.
Mhm.
And so, if he starts doing that stuff, you usually see it when they start really adapting to the NBA lifestyle in that way.
Yeah.
You start to see the jump, and I think like this is part of the start of that.
Yeah. And I do again don't want to, brush off the Jazz either, because they are on another dominant stretch, and Donovan Mitchell has been on a horrid tear since the All-Star break. Real quickly, before we go, so I did look up what Denver's defensive rating has been in the 5 games since they traded for Gordon. It's 109, which is 13th. So, like I said, if they make it to middle of the road or top 12, while they have a 120.3 offensive rating during the same stretch, I think the Nuggets are going to be solid. They are. I think it's warranted right now that I overreact and put them as the second team in the West. I can't wait to watch this team for the rest of the year. They just got so much more. Not that they weren't interesting. It's just that Denver was missing some pop. They should have been building off of this playoff run, and it just looked like losing Grant and some key guys were crucial. Gary Harris being hurt, really obviously he's been hurt the last few years, but his defense was important in those playoffs. He turned around game 6 in that first round series against the Jazz. His defense on Donovan Mitchell when he came back was spectacular and crucial. But they finally got somebody that could play durable, consistent minutes and is 6'10" and can do a little bit of everything. So I like this team.
I like it a lot. So I'm excited to see where they're heading. And the West is becoming more and more interesting. The Lakers sort of
Wild West. The Wild West
is pretty interesting here of how they're going to. It's added a new wrinkle to this race that's pretty interesting, and like the bottom tier teams are all starting to catch fire at the same time too.
Mm-hmm.
So the finish here should be pretty crazy.
Yeah, and the top 3 teams in the East, that finish should be crazy too. I like that the Bucks locked up Drew Holiday. Drew Holiday has been absolutely spectacular this year.
I think
efficient off
a little bit of an overpay.
You think of it's what?
Him to keep. I think it's a little bit of an overpay, but I think you do need to pay to keep him and to
ownership didn't cheap out. That's the thing. Like they went all in on their franchise, their tier 1 franchise guy. I think as a fan, you want that. You don't want ownership to cheap out when you. Yeah.
Again, are you overpaying for Drew Holiday? Yes. Did you need to do it? Yes. So whatever, it's fine.
But also, I do think he'll prove that extension's worth it, because he's probably going to be on my all first team all defense this year. I think he's been absolutely fantastic, and I think he's been a crunch time player for the Bucks also. And obviously we'll wait and see TBD for the playoffs, but both Drew, Chris, and Giannis have seemed to have figured out a rapport and how to operate in crunch time. And I think I brought this up before, but Giannis has made basketball improvements to his game. I think there's a little more manipulation. There's a little more deliberateness instead of just, going Godspeed towards the basket all the time. He's had some really incredible, he's made some of the best passes I've ever seen him make this season, where he's starting to use his attention that he gets to get guys open. And also, we'll see in the playoffs, because I think Mike Budenholzer is an overrated coach, but he has been trying some stuff. So the Bucks are trying stuff, and they're only a game and a half out. So that top 3 finish in the East, that's going to be interesting. Are you worried about Kevin Durant, by the way?
A little bit, but again, I think I put the Nets in the same conversation as the Lakers, where I'm not worried about them until the playoffs start. I'm not worried until the real games come and they're not playing. I'm not worried.
Yeah.
As
It is worrying that he's only played 19 games, I will say. Like, it's been like 2 months, but it sounds like everything is just extreme caution.
Yeah.
Extreme caution.
I think them having Harden and
yeah.
Kyrie make it so that you can have that amount of caution. I think the Lakers are the same way where, they're being very careful with Anthony Davis and very careful with LeBron. And like, as long as they're in the playoffs, which, I think they've put in enough of a cushion where, they could lose a ton of games and still make the playoffs. I think that as long as all of these guys are playing when the games really, really matter, then I think that's fine. I'm not worried yet.
And also one more thing before we dip out here. I'm really glad that there was a counter backlash to all the people bitching about the buyout market. Like, the most pointless thing to get upset about. It's
because the Lakers signed someone and Bill Simmons had a fucking hissy fit.
He had a hissy fit about it. And there was other people too, by the way, complaining about it, which is funny because those same people like a week ago were like, Blake Griffin's washed, LaMarcus Aldridge is washed. Like, they're gonna get better because they're playing with the Nets, obviously. But like, when in the last 10 years has there ever been a buyout player that can influence a championship like that? It's just another thing for people to.
Funny you say that. The one thing that I could think of that a lot of other people brought up to Bill, and he ignored. PJ Brown.
Yeah, PJ Brown. Yeah, no, Bill. He actually did bring up PJ Brown when I first heard him bitch about it. But yeah, PJ Brown, that was the one. And is Andre Drummond more talented than probably the average buyout player? Sure, but is the Lakers were already the favorites, and Andre Drummond isn't going to swing the championship odds that much. Like, LeBron's going to pull some stuff out of him that he probably hasn't before, that Drummond probably has never done before.
He's going to pull a toenail out of him.
Oh god. I like how he looked at the camera. I like how he looked at the camera and was trying to communicate to us that like toenail off. Like he's like, oh, I was like, oh god, that's so disgusting. But yeah, buyout market. Who cares? Who cares?
I'm of the same belief here. I just don't.
I cannot get worked up about it. I can't. But yeah, that's all I had.
Yeah, I'm totally with you there. So yeah, we're good. Interesting week. I think the end of this season is gonna be super wild. I'm happy that we have a month left to see how
I know we're almost there. Jesus,
we are. Yeah,
it's crazy.
So that's the crazy part. LeBron and AD are supposed to be back like last week of April, first week of May, and then they literally have a week before the playoffs at that point.
It's like cramming in for a final exam,
Yeah, absolutely.
Good old procrastination college days. Lakers are going the college route now.
I do. Oh, did you see the video that was out with LeBron and AD on Schroeder's stream?
I did not know.
It was pretty awesome. It's and again, I've been talking about this for a while, and like I know most Laker fans have been talking about it, and like probably everyone's sick of hearing it. But like this Lakers team is so close, and I think it comes down to LeBron being that's how he. I've heard that's how he runs his teams, even in Cleveland, that they're just very close.
Yeah,
so
they always go out to dinner and all that stuff.
Yeah, so like Schroeder and AD were playing Call of Duty. Schroeder was streaming, and then AD got a call on his cell phone, and he answered it on stream, and you could hear it's LeBron, and he called, and he was just checking with AD, seeing what's up, seeing what he was doing. Apparently, LeBron was at Dudley's house getting rehab. Working out with Dudley at his house.
Damn.
And they just called to see what they were doing because Dud said that they were playing some video games, and they just called to see what was up. And like, so it's that kind of call that you love to hear.
LeBron was probably like, "Don't say no dumb shit on the stream."
Yeah, like it's that kind of thing where it's good. It's always nice to hear stuff like that. Where like, yeah, these guys they're friends. Like they just want to hang out. Like it's a different team environment than what you're usually used to hearing. So that kind of stuff always like warms my heart. It's like, oh, dude, like these guys are family. They care about each other. So
yeah.
nice.
And also, winning that championship also helps cement that, too.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
But
some wholesome stuff, I guess, to end the pod.
Yeah, we start with Paul Pierce and we end with LeBron James calling his buddy. The two ends of the spectrum.
For real.
But thanks guys for watching, and we'll see you guys next time.
The B.O.B.